Hey guys, my name's Arin Darcan. I'm the co-founder of Hawk Reach, which is a digital marketing agency. We do around 7 figures per year, and I love to make these videos to try and help the smaller entrepreneurs get to the sort of level I'm at. And today I've got a really cool video about data tracking today. It doesn't sound very cool. It sounds quite boring. Whenever anyone mentions data, it's not the most exciting, interesting thing in the world. But once you learn it and once you crack how to actually use it properly, it can literally open up your revenue to new heights. So super exciting things. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we can jump straight into it. So today, the sort of data tracking I'm talking about is funnel and sales data tracking. So I'm not talking about data tracking in the sense of analyzing lots of numbers and things like that. I'm literally just talking about tracking each step of your funnel and your sales process and working out exactly what the issues are and identifying each of the problems. I'm going to give a quick example. Let's say you've got a digital marketing agency like me. You might not have a digital marketing agency. You might have something else, but the sales process, lead gen, like it's all going to be kind of similar stuff the way you break it down. So for our funnel, we would have a Facebook ad. That Facebook ad will generate a click and then that will go to a lead form. From that lead form, it will then direct us to a book a call page. So the Facebook ad catches the attention of the audience, the person you're targeting. The lead form collects their information, and then the book a call is obviously where they can book a call. So then from there, they obviously book a call. You then have a sales process. So then you have, do they actually turn up to the call? So does the lead show up to the call? Then from there, we'll go up here. Then you've got, is the lead qualified? And then depends on your sales process. You might have one call process, you might have a 2 call process, you might have something completely different. But obviously each step, let's say you got a 2 call process. So then you'd have, obviously if they're qualified and they get through, did they get to actually show up to a call 2? So call 2 show up. Then from the call 2, what happens after that? Did they like give you a verbal yes? Did they agree to go over the contract? Did they make payment? Again, I don't know what your steps are, but let's say here you get a verbal yes from them, but you've got to send the contract to them. So verbal yes, like did you get a verbal yes? And then it's, did they sign contract? And then it's actually, did they make the payment? If you get payments up front, I don't know how your business works, but did they actually make the payment? If that's the next thing, right? So this is the whole funnel essentially to get a client, right? You've got a Facebook ads, that then goes to a lead form. The lead form goes to a book a call. Then once they book a call, does the lead actually show up to the call? If the lead shows up to the call, are they a qualified lead? If they are a qualified lead and you book a call 2 of them, let's say that's the sales cycle you have, then do they actually show up to the call 2? If they show up to the call too, great. Do they then give you a yes or a no, or what do they say on the call? If they give you a verbal yes, did they, like, once you send them a contract after the call, did they actually sign the contract? And then if they sign the contract, did they actually make the payment? And the reason why this is so important to track is because if you don't track this, let's say you literally just have your Facebook ads platform and you're just seeing how many clients you get. So you're literally just tracking how much you're spending on Facebook ads and you're tracking like how many clients signed up. If you're only tracking that, then if for some reason your Facebook ads, maybe they're working great at the moment, right? Maybe you've got a cost per acquisition. So maybe you're spending $1,000 on Facebook ads and that converts into 1 client. Great. Or you've got a $1,000 cost per acquisition. If this randomly goes up to, I don't know, $5,000 for a cost per acquisition for 1 client, you have no understanding of what's gone wrong. You literally just know that you've spent $5,000. Maybe inside the Facebook ad account, you can see things like click-through rates, you can see things like creatives, maybe little things like that. But ultimately, maybe one of your sales guys is just going through a really bad time and they're not able to close as many deals. Maybe one of your sales guys quit and you had to replace them. And if you're not tracking all of this, then how do you know which step is actually broken? Maybe the lead form, maybe that's outdated. Maybe there's something wrong with that. Maybe the book a call, something went wrong there. Maybe your reminders for your first call, maybe the reminders aren't being sent out properly, or maybe there's a bug somewhere. It's like a big machine. And if you don't understand the components of this machine, you have no idea what's broken and what's actually working. And also, when it comes to optimizing things properly, if you are getting $1,000 cost per acquisition, even if that's great for you, why not try and get this down to $500? If you can get this down to $500 for 1 client, then you can get double the amount of clients for the amounts that you're spending at the moment. It's just, you want to optimize as much as you can. So you should always be tracking this. There's no excuses. And a lot of agencies and a lot of other businesses, they don't track this. If I said to a lot of agencies, how many qualified calls did you get last month? They'll probably say to me, oh, I don't know, around this amount. Or they'll say, yeah, out of all of our calls, like our qualified lead rate was around, I don't know, 30%. They'll always say like around 30%. They'll never say to me, yeah, it was 28.6%. They'll never give me exact numbers because they don't know it. They just like kind of like it's emotional reasoning. They kind of like think back, oh, well, Jimmy got around 100 calls and I think around like he closed around 50. So he probably had a qualified rate of like around like 60 or 70 probably. That's what they'd say. They don't actually know. They're not tracking this. And again, you can't optimize. You don't know what's broken if you're not tracking this stuff. So I'm going to quickly talk to you about how to actually track this. Obviously, everyone's got different CRMs and everyone's got different ways of doing things. But obviously, the Facebook ads dashboard, that's the first thing, all right? Then obviously the lead form, that's all in the Facebook ad dashboard. The book a call, this should then, once they submit their information, I'll do a different video about Zapier and different softwares, but I want to kind of tell you high level how it works. There's a software called Zapier, which we use. You've probably heard of it before. With Zapier, that will then push this lead directly into your CRM. Once it's in your CRM, you should be able to set up any automations and set up all the different tracking so that when your salesperson is speaking to the lead, maybe your lead's called, I don't know, James, that's your lead name. Within the James lead, you can make a note of, okay, are they qualified? Did they show up to the call? So did they flake? Did they buy? You can mark all of this, and then this data can be pushed into maybe a different software or wherever you want, and it will tell you exactly. It will count up all the qualified leads, all the ones that flaked, all the ones that bought, and you'll be able to track it all properly. So most of it is going to go through your CRM. There might have to be some manual adjustments to what you do, and it is admin work. Like, you can get a lot of this stuff automated, but ultimately your salesperson needs to be entirely responsible for updating the CRM. If this CRM isn't up to date properly, then all of this just goes to shit. Like, you can't use any of this. All of this just goes crap. You just need to be careful that whatever systems you do use for this, your sales guy is properly updating the CRM properly. We've had issues in the past with sales guys not properly updating CRMs, and what ends up happening is that the data going in is crap, so the data coming out is crap. This is called GIGO. It's like an IT term. Basically, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you put garbage into this machine and either the CRM's wrong or something's wrong, then you're just going to get garbage out. Like, you're not going to get any good data out. So you have to make sure that your sales guys are really on it and they're updating their CRMs and making sure that all the automations are working properly. So all this stuff is done mostly automatically. So let's do like a numbers example for this. So let's say you're spending $1,000 on Facebook ads and you get, I don't know, 1,000 clicks, you got $1 a click, you got some good Facebook ads. So you've got 1,000 clicks on your Facebook ads. From there, you've got, let's say, I don't know, 100 people actually submit the lead form. So someone clicked on the ad, they liked it, they thought it was great, and 100 of them actually submitted the lead form. Awesome. From there, let's say 50 of these booked a call, and then from there, let's say, I don't know, 30 of them showed up. So then you've got this bit here, you've got 10%, then that's 50%, so 100 to 50, and this is going to be, what, 60%. So you got 10% of people get through there. Out of them 100 people, 50% of them actually book a call, and out of them 60% actually turn up to the call. The beauty of this now is, like I was saying about the optimization, is you can start split testing things. So let's say your book a call page, this one here, maybe you want to try using a VSL, a video sales letter. Maybe you want to try putting testimonials on it. Maybe you want to try changing the copywriting. Maybe you want to try a completely new design. So then what you can do is you can collect data and then you can see what happens here. If you see that you've still got the same numbers here, that's great. But in this one, you now test it and this goes up to 75%. So now you've got 75 for the same cost, for the same number of people, but this goes up to 75%, right? That's no longer 50. Then great, this should stay the same, right? There's no reason why that would change. There's no reason why the flake rate would change, unless you did something on the copywriting or the VSL or something that engaged people more, so they're more likely to turn up to the call. Maybe that could happen. Let's assume this stays the same, then 60% of 75 is 45. So now you've got 45 people turning up to the call rather than 30. And this can then carry on, right? Obviously, so from there, you're going to see that maybe the qualified rate is going to be, I don't know, 50%. And you can just go from there. And then obviously what you can start doing as well is that, did they show up? Even things like reminders. Have you got a reminder sequence in place? If your flake rate at the moment, or if your show up rate, whichever one you want to use, let's say 60% of people turn up to the call. Maybe you've got no reminders at the moment. Maybe you're using like one SMS reminder just to say, hey, you've got a meeting later on, like, remember. But if you actually started using 3 SMS, 4 emails, and maybe even getting your sales guy to phone them an hour before, be like, hey, you still good for our call in an hour? Yeah, perfect. And maybe like one phone call, right, going really keen on the anti-flake, then this, all of a sudden, is you've got a 90% sharp rate because you're literally like phoning them, you're calling them, you're SMSing them, and that will then obviously improve this number again, and that'll push more people to the qualified calls. And then after the qualified calls, then you've got the call to sharp, the verbal yes, and things like look as well, right? If you're getting loads of verbal yeses, but none of them are actually signing the contract, then that can tell you that there's something wrong here. Maybe you're getting out of the people that are giving verbal yeses to actually signing the contract, maybe it's only like 20% of people. So if you've got 10 people that say, yeah, I want to go ahead, but only 2 of them are actually signing the contract, then clearly there's something wrong with, they've got an objection, they've got something, like they're not willing to go ahead. Maybe they flake after this. Again, if you don't know this, you don't break it down, maybe your sales guy is doing something wrong. Maybe your sales guy is saying to them, yeah, you want to go ahead, right? And they're like, I need to think about it. No, you want to go ahead, that's fine. And they mark it as verbal yes, right? That happens sometimes. Obviously, the guy doesn't want to go ahead. The sales guy is literally forcing them to say yes. So if you don't understand what the problem is here, then you won't know which bit to look at. If you're analyzing your sales guy's calls, if you're analyzing the funnel, you're trying to understand what's going wrong. If you don't see these issues, you don't understand each step of the funnel and understand where the numbers drop off and what the percentages are, then it becomes a mess and you don't know how to fix things. I hope all this makes sense. One final thing, tracking this data, which is really, really interesting, is that if you start tracking the exact amount of money in new revenue you're making per month, and you know how many lead forms you're getting, how many book calls you're getting, how many qualified leads you're getting, then you can start to actually work out how much revenue do you generate per qualified lead? How much revenue do you generate per call you get booked? For example, if you've got $10,000 in new revenue from sales guys, and you've got, I don't know, let's say 100 lead forms, then you know that your revenue per lead form, and it's predictable data, right? So in the future, you could probably, providing you don't change anything, your lead forms should be the same next month, unless there's some major changes, right? So at the moment here, this is going to be $100 of revenue per lead form. You know that every time you get a lead form come in, you've literally just made $100 based on your last data. I know it's not exactly like that, but it's a good way to think about it. So every time you get a new lead form in, great. Well, you know you literally just earned $100 based on your past data. Then what you can start to do is you can take it back. You can start to understand in Facebook ads, right, okay, how much am I spending to actually get a lead form on Facebook ads? Well, at the moment, I'm spending $20 per lead form to actually get one, like through Facebook ads, right? That's how much I'm spending. But through past month's data, I'm actually generating $100 per lead form. So that means I've got a 5 times ROAS, which is great, which is awesome. Scale it up as fast as you can. And a lot of places, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't understand. What they're just going to look at is like their total sales and compare it to their ad spend, which is good. But to compare it on a more granular basis, it just gives you that better insight. And also, it's quite motivating when you see that you've got, I don't know, $1,000 revenue per qualified lead. It's like, wow, that's awesome. Like, all I've got to do is focus on getting as many qualified leads as I can, and I know that every time I get a qualified lead, I'm getting $1,000. And it's just like it's like gamifies it a little bit more as well. It makes it really interesting to exactly see the breakdown of each structure. Then you can see exactly how much you're paying per qualified call, per show up, per client, obviously, per even verbal yes received. You can break it down on every single level. That's exactly what we do at Hawk Reach, and it works really well. So if you've got any questions about any of this, please feel free to write a comment below. I'll be more than happy to answer. If you like the video, please like it, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.